Si estás, yo quiero saber si tú estás, mami, cuando tú quieras, yeah. Nadie te está avanzando y la puerta está abierta. No te preocupes por nosotros dos, nuestra historia ya está muerta. Espero que seas feliz y que te diviertas. Pero ¿por qué no vuelves? No. Nadie te está avanzando y la puerta está abierta. No te preocupes por nosotros dos, nuestra historia ya está muerta. Espero que seas feliz y que te diviertas. Pero ¿por qué no vuelves? No. Ay, dime qué esperas. Baby, te quiero pero afuera. Eres alguien por dentro y otra por fuera. Y ya no siento nada cuando te encueras. Dame banda. En mi corazón ya tú no eres la que manda. Se acabó, por ti ya no siento nada. De nuestra serie ya no salen temporada. Así que vete lejos, dile al diablo que te envíe el pin. Hace tiempo que no somos un team. Que el carajo nuestro aniversario y San Valentín. Ya tengo el Cristian Luna y no trae en satín. Sigue lo que te duele. Que tienes la culpa en lo que te muerde. Queda pequeño el pelo porque de mí te acuerdas. Y que siento lo que te pierde. Pero te deseo suerte, ahora soy más fuerte. Gracias por lo que me hiciste. Tú nunca me quisiste. No sé por qué me hiciste. Pero te deseo suerte, ahora soy más fuerte. Gracias por lo que me hiciste. Tú nunca me quisiste. No sé por qué me hiciste. Welcome in. Today is February 19th, 2026. I want to say 200. Only if we were 200 years old, maybe we could reset some of this stuff. But oh my goodness. I think when I get on, people start talking about me. Someone says my name, I'll start sneezing. I don't know what's going on here. But welcome in February 19th, 2026. I am your host, Peyron Baxter, on the Roots Rundown, a offshoot of the Radical Roots podcast, where we talk about everything between politics, culture, everything in between. Again, today is the day we are coming to you guys. Last time we talked about Jesse Jackson's passing. I just want to welcome you all in because today's topic is going to be a little bit off of politics, but yet still political. Today's title of today's episode is called Patriarchy Blues. So we're going to be talking about patriarchy, talking about if it has any value, the threat it possesses to humanity. What do we gain out of it? What do we lose by maintaining it? Who's harmed by it? I got a few clips here. But before we get into today's episode, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the Radical Roots podcast and platform. It is how we grow. We've been growing episode after episode. Folks are engaging with us more and more. They're in the comments. They're talking to each other, building community. This is what we want. This is how we fight back against fascism. Fascism requires us to be individualized. Fascism requires us to be isolated. Fascism requires us to be insulated. And the more that we reach out and talk to people who are not like ourselves, not like the people who are in your current circle now, who may look just like you or talk just like you or have lived just like you or who have loved just like you or have prayed just like you, whatever the case may be, is how you start to understand that we have more in common than we do separating us. So please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the Radical Roots platform. And of course, if you guys have a few extra bucks, I'm still trying to get better at that, please make sure you scan this QR code and donate to the Radical Roots platform. $1 here, a couple bucks there, $10. And some folks have actually donated more than that. So we thank you all. Everything matters. We appreciate every single bit that comes our way, because this show would not be possible without our fan base, without we got to come up with a good name, without our roots head, but then roots head, maybe roots head. I don't know. Without our roots heads, we wouldn't be anything. We're still working on that. We're still workshopping that. We're still pulling and pushing that. So if you guys could please donate, it would go a very long way. All right, let me get this off the screen. With that being said, so make sure I got my notes here. I should probably have it more readily available. We do have our sponsor. I'd like to thank them for sponsoring the Radical Roots podcast. Where is it at? Oh my goodness, there it is. Okay, today's episode is brought to you by Baxter's Beads, a small handcrafted jewelry brand known for its intentional gemstone bracelets that blend style with meaning. Whether you're celebrating a milestone, setting a new intention, or just wanting something beautiful for everyday wear, there is a piece designed for you. Visit shopbachelorbeads.com to learn more and shop the collection. Again, I want to thank Bachelor's Beads for being a sponsor of this Roots Rundown today. Well, folks, yeah, today's going to be a little bit off the kind of beaten path, if you will, of politics, of we know what we're usually talking about, right? The headlines, but I do think that it will still apply to politics, right? Because uh, again, we do live in a patriarchal society. We do live in a society that is rooted in male dominance, and so this today's episode will be kind of two parts together, right? One will be some clips that came out around Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning, but then also a real life experience that I had that I would like to discuss with you all that really one shocked me, and then two made me realize that we have a lot more work to do as a society. So I guess I'll start off with kind of my interpersonal conversation I had. So last Saturday I was at an event. Friend had a little kickback, all good, a bunch of Black folks. I think sometimes for myself, I think that I've been doing the work. I've been kind of doing the reading, processing some of this stuff, and trying to uh, kind of unlearn some of the stuff I've been learning, whether it be white supremacy, whether it be Christian nationalism, whether it be homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia, jingoism, and all of its shades and flavors. But we had kind of a two-part conversation, and just to kind of set the tone, there's about three or four families there. Again, all of us were Black, and one of the husbands, he was talking about I think I think our kids ran through the kitchen, and I said, "Oh man, look at that! They're only here for a short amount of time, right? As we all know, as parents, the days are long, but the years are short." And somehow this father said something to the effect of, well, they do all that hard work to be born, and therefore, it's hard. We should give them the respect. And of course, all the women looked at him like, motherfucker, you crazy as shit. Because, of course, they carried the baby, they labored, they pushed the baby out, they reared the child. And that caused a bit of consternation, right? Where to a certain point where like I thought that he was trolling because I'm like, motherfucker, there's no way you're telling these women who have ultimately, given their body up to rear new life into this world, as women have always done since the creation of humanity, or since we became bipedal, that the child is the one that's doing the work, because no child ever asked to be born. I didn't ask to be born. Anybody in this who's watching or listening in, you did not ask to be born. And it really, I think, really shocked me that I was like, oh man, guys still believe this, right? Of course, it continues on. So of course, they laid into him, and I added with their perspective as well, that we as men really don't understand the female anatomy. For a long time, I think it's all the way up until the 1980s, women's gynecological efforts and the study behind that was not really taken seriously. And I think there were some scientists that said women are just men with pesky lady parts. And I use that line a lot frequently in my life when I'm talking to women, when they're like, why is this happening? And, why don't they know that, my period means this, or why don't they know? And I'm like, well, and again, I say, because women are just men with pesky lady parts. And I say that in jest. And they're always looking at me like, Perrin, how dare you say that? That's not me saying that. That is the medical, some of the luminaries in the medical community for decades that have said that about women's bodies. So if you think about the trickle down effect and how that's reinforced through our television, through our media, through our news coverage, through our, who gets promoted, who gets to get the jobs, who gets to be in power, who gets to create the laws, who gets to set the morality, right? The famous Margaret Sanger quote, he who sets the work and who sets the wages controls the morals. And of course, she was a racist as well, but that's a very good quote. Like, whoever gets to set what it will take for you to exist, that person gets to set what your morality is, what they get to set, kind of basically how you get to live your life, how you get to dictate your life, right? And the people who are doing that are also lobbying, the narratives that we get put out there. It makes sense that in 2026 we can get a brother who is a father and a husband and a child uh, to a woman to say, well, you know what, it's equally the responsibility of a child to be born that is the mother, and rightfully so. Now that was kind of a and a moose bouche, if you will. That was kind of a horse divers, an hors d'oeuvre, to the larger, broader point of the conversation. What made me think I need to really talk about this today, because then we got into a second part of the conversation, which was about because I think my wife brought up that they had a conversation earlier in the week because some of these folks were her coworkers about being safe and what does safety look like for women and the things women have to go through, right? Just to be safe. And ladies in the chat, I'm sure you all know this more than I do. Just put in the chat things that you would just to walk out the door, just to go to your office, just to go to the store. What are things that you have to do to be safe, right? And they were saying things like, I carry my keys in between my knuckles. I make sure that my key is always out just in case someone runs up on me. I can get them right in the carotid, right? I make sure that my back is never, if it's nighttime, my back's never towards, basically the dark fog behind me. I make sure that I'm very aware of my surroundings. I make sure that I have my mace on me. I make sure that my friends know, hey, I'm going to go see this guy friend, and he lives here. I make sure that just all these things. And one of the other husbands was like, well, it's our responsibility as men, or excuse me, it's our responsibility as people to make sure that we remain hyper vigilant for our own safety. It's your responsibility to get home safely. It's your responsibility, and this just kind of created this larger, broader conversation, right? That, like, again, Lorena here saying self-defense classes, right? I mean, most of the time when a man's taking a self-defense class, it's really about how he's going to what, right? Like dominate someone else. And like, women are doing this for literal self-defense, self-preservation, to maintain another day. But this conversation really started to tailspin when the husband that initially said that it's up to the woman to be hyper vigilant, it turned into this idea that like I too have to worry about my safety. And I chimed in. I'm like, well, bro, you don't have to worry about getting fucking raped. Like, you don't worry about getting raped every day, every time you leave the house. And of course, snarkily, he's like, yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. And then you start to realize that that's that sort of calcified response as Black people we get from like white people. And I'm like, and this is why I think, within the Black community, Black men have had the moniker that we are the white men of the Black community. And I think that makes perfect sense because we are unwilling to give up power. We are unwilling to listen. We are responsible for the majority of domestic violence. We're responsible for the majority of children being. In fact, all children are responsible by men. Right? Men are the reason children are born. Right? Like they're the reason that someone gets pregnant. You can't get pregnant without a man. So they're like, well, that's her responsibility. Like, bro, she didn't make that shit by herself. Right? So, but there's this idea that there is this flattening of safety in a society that is built on patriarchy, and we even brought up the concept of man versus bear, right? I'm sure most of y'all know about man versus bear. That if a woman would she rather be with a random man that she does not know or a bear, because at most the bear will bite your head off and kill you and drag your body to his lair and eat your body over time. That's the most a bear will do. A bear will not keep you locked in a house to make sure you have its children. A bear will not, basically, poison you through dehumanizing you. A bear will not, spike your drink. A bear will not, manipulate your mind, right? All these things that a bear will not do. And he was unwilling to even accept that. He was unwilling to take that perspective. And I think in that moment for me, I was like, man, some of the work that I've been doing, does that mean I'm perfect? Absolutely not. Your boy got a lot of work to go. A lot of work to go. A long road to hoe, as they say. Because this hoe used to have a long road. But but I thought that like brothers were like more up on it than this. I'm like, it's 2026, and we're still repeating this archaic perspective of what it means to be in community with women, right? We're still trying to say, well, I'm oppressed as a Black man, so that means just do what I do. And to me, it was giving all lives matter. It was giving this concept that as it relates to the patriarchy, not all men. But we talk about like what is patriarchy, right? Patriarchy, yes, is a system which disregards women, but it also is a system which disregards men by making them feel like they have to always constantly perform for some other man, right? You're always vying to be this best man. This man, and if you look at it in our society, it's always a white man because, and of course, we have brothers say like, no, I don't want to be no white man. But if you think about it, what are the goals of a true patriarch? I can provide. Okay, well, who can provide the most, and what can they provide? It was because of finances, right? Well, in our society, who has the most amount of finances, who holds the most wealth? It is not black men. It is not Latino men. It is white men. So the more you run towards a capitalistic perspective, an individualistic perspective, you are running away from your own indigeneity. You're running towards white supremacy. So that's why a lot of times, a lot of these oppressive, high control social constructs sound exactly like our own oppressors. And we are doing the work of white supremacy, which is why some red pill content can have black people who are behind the mic. They can have, Latino guys who are out there on the road saying like, I want to get rid of these Mexicans because they're sounding like their own oppressors because they're actively trying to diminish and demean other men and other women, which is the whole point of patriarchy. Now, misogyny is creating a system where women feel less than, and you are actively taking from them and creating a dual class system where women are only servile, meant to have babies, and they're basically incubators, which was the first part of the conversation. But this whole conversation really had my mind like really, really racing because I've been doing the work, and Lorena wants me to talk about books all the time. Two books that I'm going to recommend today that I read are fantastic is Patriarchy Blues by Frederick Joseph. This book was a collection of like poems and kind of reflections on manhood, and it's fantastic, right? It breaks down like this binary, this box that we have to live in as men that really does not serve us at all, especially black men, because we were never treated as men, right? We never had autonomy. So when we get into the concept, I'm going to talk about in a few minutes here about bodily autonomy. Hearing a black man saying I'm against, and they'll use like I'm against abortion, but it's really bodily autonomy. Like you as a black man have never had bodily autonomy, ever. And you just look through a history, you could thumb through a history book to realize whether you were enslaved, whether you were segregated and your body could not sit at this counter the same way a white body could sit at that counter, whether you were strung up from a light post or strung up from a tree, you do not have the same bodily autonomy as a white man that does not have to get strung up by a tree. Whether it was going to a bathroom and it said men, women, and colored, so your black male body could not be a man, quote unquote, with the other men. And until we start to understand that all these things are intertwined, we are going to uphold that system at the expense of our own communities. So Patriarchy Blues is a fantastic one. And and the other book I want to recommend is America Goddamn by Dr. Trevor B. Lindsay. Fantastic book. This book I have stickered up. I've been tattooed up in the margins, a bunch of notes and stuff. Fantastic book. America Goddamn by Dr. Trevor B. Lindsay out of Philadelphia. And in fact, during that conversation, when he was saying the other husband who was saying that we have to, it's all of our responsibility to stay hyper vigilant to stay alive. Um, and why women should just have a gun, because if you get raped and you have a gun, then you can just shoot the person that's going to rape you, right? And I had to explain to him, I mean, and I've got the stat from this book. In fact, when I came home, I made sure I found it to keep it in my notes in case I run into this in the future, which I know I will, because this is very common barbershop talk. But she hasn't heard the statistics from RAIN, which is the rape, abuse, incest national statistics. I forget the second last, but it's like RAINs. But 55% of reported rapes. Now, let me go back one. 1 in 15 rapes are reported. So let's just start there. 1 in 15 rapes are reported. 1 in 15 rapes are reported. Of those 1 in 15, so you take the 100% of all those that are that are reported. 55% of the women that are sexually assaulted have said "I love you" to the person who's the perpetrator. Now, explain to me, and I said this to him, and I think my numbers were, I think I said 50%, but it's 55%. So the majority of people that report their sexual assaults or rapes said, I love you to the person. That could be, I love you, daddy. I love you to my husband. I love you to my boyfriend. I love you to, whoever, someone who's in close proximity to you. How could a gun in that situation make sense? If you find yourself in a situation where you thought you were safe literally 2 seconds ago, I highly doubt that you're going to have your gun at your ready. Lorena here, fantastic point. 1 in 100 convicted. It's not about, when you have a system of hierarchy, it's about who is privileged and who is punished. And if you're never punished, then what you excuse, you empower. Right? When you excuse a George Zimmerman, when you excuse a Kyle Rittenhouse, you're saying killing Black people or people who are in defense of Black lives can die. Right? When 1 in 100 rapists are convicted, you're saying you can rape women, you can rape children. We're seeing it in the Epstein files, right? We're seeing it how all of a sudden, you gotta let the courts play out, and I don't understand, but let you be a Black person selling loose cigarettes. Let you be Renee Good. You are guilty before the bullets hit your face. But if you are eating children, trafficking them, crushing their skulls, sending them to Cedars-Sinai in California for them to get cranial reconstruction surgery by one of the best plastic surgeons, by Dr. Ting. Look him up. That has to go through the process because they have wealth. They have wealth, whiteness, and power. But it was really interesting because a lot of men have this stance that, like, we're all under threat. And then he got to this talking point, which was very similar to whiteness, where he was like, well, if we just got rid of all the men, if we got rid of all the men, then there will still be threats. There will still be threats. Fine. Y'all are talking about systemic. I'm not talking about the system. What I'm saying is, if we get rid of all the men, then you'll start to worry about something. Now, that sounds to me, again, I'm not a woman, but I understand how oppressive class social structures work. And when someone says, well, that sounds like reverse racism to me. You giving Palestinians their right, saying that sounds like you want to commit another Holocaust on the Jews, right? Systems of power. Those who have power never want to let it go. They never want to be challenged that, hey, you might have this wrong. And the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm like, it's okay to be wrong. It's okay. I was wrong the majority of my life. But the exact minute you're like, you know what, I got that wrong. How was my existence aiding to the boot on your neck? And then you listen. But there's this kind of, intransigence with this guy, where he's saying, we just got rid of all the men, which again sounds like, you want to commit white genocide, right? And I'm like, no one's saying that. What we're asking men to do, what they're asking, what they've been begging for since before they were born, and what I, as someone who's trying to be more enlightened, is trying to ask for, is for us to be better as men, is to listen to women, regardless of their age, and to not downplay their experience, not try to false equivocate, not try to grandstand and then use our own experience to supersede their real life experience. And again, there's also systemic, where there's 1 in 100 that are convicted, that 55% said I love you, that there's the boyfriend loophole when it comes to guns. All these things are actually edified into law, that there is a system where laws apply to women that don't apply to men, right? We have to look at it as how we benefit from that. And do we benefit from that? And the answer is no, we don't benefit from that. Because any system that requires someone else to have their head and their neck kneeled down on, That's as far as that system can go, especially our most vulnerable. Especially, this is the majority of the population in the United States of America. Women make up 51% of the population. 51% of the people living right now in the United States of America are women. And they have less rights than 49%. Do you call that a democracy? Is that a place that you want to live in? And one thing about my show that I want to do is have us think about what type of world do we want to build? What type of world do we want to live in? And the premise I give people is, if I gave you another planet somewhere else, and I said you could take 5 million people, you can create your own new civilization. What systems would you bring from the United States of America and take over there? Would you take our education system? Would you take our economic system? Would you take our law enforcement system? Would you take our legislative system? Would you take our medical system? Would you take our gender system? Would you take our racial system? And then you start to realize that a lot of people they're defending is not necessarily this idea of, I'm actually oppressed, or I I don't want to change it. What they're holding on to is their privilege, and being ignorant to anything that supports you, even to the smallest degree, is within itself privilege. So when a man says, I didn't know 50% of women who report sexual assaults have said I love you to the perpetrator, of course you wouldn't, because that's a privilege. There's your privilege right there. When black people tell white people, well, there's a higher chance of a white high school dropout who's a felon to get a call back from a job than is from a black person who has a college degree. I didn't know that. Of course you wouldn't. That's your privilege. And it's incumbent upon you to excavate that from your ego. We all have to go through ego death. All of us. All of us. So when you're like, oh, I don't got to, I'm woke, I'm an ally, you are saying, I'm done. This thing, there is no destination. There is no set destination. Because as hard as you're doing the work, there are billions of dollars. There are old school institutions that are actively working against your singular work. So the work is never done. And even if it is done for you, which it's not, there are millions of people out there that need to be tapped into, which is why I'm doing this show. So last thing I was having this conversation that because at a certain point it kind of tailspun into just yelling about nothing and staying on it's on the women and we got to be vigilant, and then if we get rid of all the men, there will still be threats, you'll still have to fight dogs and shit. And I'm like, okay, dude, you are fucking missing it. And you're intentionally fucking missing that we as men are the biggest threat to women. And this concept of not all men is like saying to someone in the 14th century, well, it's not all rats had the bubonic plague, had the black plague. They wouldn't give a shit. Well, not all rats, but yeah, enough rats to cause a pandemic. Not all ticks have Lyme disease, but enough ticks have Lyme disease that you're worried if a tick is on you, you may get Lyme disease. That's what they're dealing with. And the exact minute you're saying, not me, not I, you're defending men. You're defending, well, not all white people, not I voted for Kamala Harris. You're defending whiteness. We have to look at it for what it is. And this could be your husband. This could be the most progressive guy on your block. It could be the chair of the Democratic Party, which I used to be. And I'm still processing that, right? Look, I'm still a man. I mean, at my core, right? Check my search history. You'll find out I got a lot more growth to do. My point is, I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that. And I'm working to become a better person. Will I ever be a perfect person? No, because perfection it doesn't exist. But can I be better today than I was yesterday? And you can't be better today than you were yesterday if you truly believe I've done all the work. Because then there's no incentive to get better. You're not offering yourself that you deserve to continually pull yourself through the muck and the broken glass to get to the other side of just being mediocre, of just being of just being whatever you think you are. There are real systems actively aimed at all of us right now. And the more we start to learn about each other, the more we start to learn about how we can fight for one another. Another part of the conversation was about women teaching their daughters and sons about menstruation. Menstruation? Is it menstruation or is it menstruation? See? Okay. Periods. And one of the guys was like, well, I don't want to teach my son about that. It's too early, blah, blah, blah. And it's important that we teach our sons about periods at a young age, because you don't know when they're going to be around an older classmate or an older student. She's running out. She had her first period, and the other boy's going to say, ew, gross. But if that boy understands, that's a natural part of life. That's actually very healthy. That's happening. I hope she's okay. I hope she's not embarrassed. I hope she needs something. Can I get you something? That creates a safer society for women. So the same way, again, using the sliding the oppression thing over to black and whiteness, when these white people are banning books, and by the way, during Black History Month, Donald Trump banned 591 black books. When you have these white people saying, we can't teach about race because it's too much. It's too much. What you're saying is, I want to continue that oppression of those people. And I don't want those people to learn that. And because never in a time in history have people learned more about one another and that harmed them. Hasn't been a time in history where you learned about someone else, their culture, their experience, especially if they're more vulnerable than you, and you walked away like, I hate them more, actually. I want to kill them more. I want them to have less rights. Think about it. So every time they're like, ban the books, ban the queer stuff, ban this, ban that, because they want to feel okay in harming other people. They want to feel okay in stripping the rights and the human rights of people that they have deemed non-human. So the second half of all this is that on Saturday, a group called Sistersong, I believe, released a video. It might have come out earlier than Saturday, but I watched it on Saturday or Sunday. And it was a round table full of different types of men. You had, you guys follow Conscious Lee out there. Conscious Lee was at the table. Kendrick 38, you saw him on Insecure. He was at the table. The actor Clifton Powell was at the table. There was a rapper, I don't know his name. He was at the table. There's an amalgamation. There's some business owners. There was a gay man at the table. There was a trans Latino man at the table. And there was Alphonse. I forget his last name now. My wife actually knows him from her days in theater. But Alphonse was at the table. He's now an actor. You saw him on P-Valley. You saw him in They Clone Tyrone with Jimmy Fox. But he was at the table as well, and he has some really good takes. But this clip first caught my eye, and it was of Conscious Lee, and I was like, oh, what is this? What is this? And this was the first one I saw. So this is the first clip here.
Start to think about how we only think about women when it's tethered to a man. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, respect her, bro. That's so-and-so little sister. Hey, respect her, bro. That's so-and-so. So it's really thinking about how us as men, in terms of accountability, we really don't even have a good transition from objectification to fatherhood, because you've been a fucker for 20 years. Mm-hmm. And now you don't want to be a fucker no more. Now you want to be a father. Because we don't have that accountability to think about the, like, how we are taught to objectify women. And I know in our conversations, it'd be like, hey, you can get respect from the homies based off how you get down on a bitch. Yes. Yeah. To be real, you can get capital, popularity, preference based off of how you're able to dominate and objectify other women. So then when I come into the conversation and I want to talk about progression of women, we start to have different, I'm going to say pathology, different ways that stigma taps into it. And I think one of those is us being very critical about how we relate to women that's not related to us. Like, how do you respect women that's not your sister, that's not your mama, that's not your, you know what I'm saying?
I've had that question for a while. And I think, consciously put that well, that, it's easy when men can say, I die for mine. I ride out for my daughter. I ride out for my mama. But what about the woman you're not attracted to? What about the woman that is differently abled? What about the butch lesbian woman? What about the woman that, is married, that you think is fine, but will never look at you? What about the woman that is, that by conventional standards would be considered not attractive? Do you care about those women? What about the poor? What about the homeless woman? These are the questions that patriarchy conveniently sidesteps. And they say, well, I'm too busy getting to the paper. I'm too busy getting to the bag. I'm too busy. Doing this allows for us to do what? To become individualized and not see ourselves in the collective struggle, because whatever is oppressing that woman, I guarantee you is oppressing you. Guarantee it. And right now we have a large percentage of men, the majority of men, that are unwilling to do any of that work, as I said earlier, to excavate that out of them, to do some of that shadow work, to do some of that soul work. Because we want to maintain a life of bitches and hoes and champagne, even though we ain't got bitches and hoes and champagne. That's the truth. So for time's sake, I'm going to go to the next clip here. And then here's another clip from Consciously.
Like, there's still something unique about black women, and this is why I'm at the table. I wore a short. I wore this shirt. I'm in Houston. I wore a shirt. It said, "Trust black women." A nigga tried to play me, and it pissed me off, and it's on my mind right now. So I wanted this. He said, "What about the women that lie? What about the black women that lie?" So I had to just propose it to him, like, "Hey, fam, if I told you trust all black people, and your response is, what about the niggas that lie? Would you see the obvious issue in that?"
Right.
What do you say?
Kinda. So I was able to be from the depth. But the fact he said kinda let me know, like, yeah, bro, so you're trying to use the worst example of a woman to say this is why we shouldn't trust women. It's the same exact thing that white folks do. Let me find the worst example of a nigga and say this is why we shouldn't trust niggas. It's like, if you do that with trust women, you're acting like a white supremacist.
You're good.
So I want to just put that in there if folks don't even say that.
Luke, can I ask you a question real quick? So, and I don't mean to put you on the spot. So a lot of what we've been talking about has been like pro-abortion, and sometimes like people who you did acknowledge that you were adopted.
That was a separate conversation, but basically asking him, since you were adopted, are you for abortion and bodily autonomy? Which he said, yeah, actually I am, because it's up to the woman. Very, very enlightened response. But Consciously's point there of trust women, believe women, listen to women. And you listen to women not because they all tell the truth. You listen to women because they deserve to be heard. You listen to immigrants not because none of them have committed a crime, which is the framing that the right wing does. You listen to them because they're seeking a better life, and honestly, they contribute more than a lot of us do, and they just deserve to be heard. You listen to black people not because we are the paragon of virtuosity in this country, but because we, like everyone else, are as American as George Washington. Been here longer than him. Can date our blood back further than him. And because we've been oppressed, and we know the way out, the people closest to the pain should be closest to the power. But those in power want to keep those under thumb close to pain. So there is this dynamic that, when people say, we shouldn't believe and we shouldn't believe women, and a certain part of that conversation I was telling you about on Saturday kind of got there. But I remember I stepped in, I said, have you heard of the what were they wearing museum, the exhibit? Of course, no one in the room even heard of this. So yeah, there's an exhibit called the What Were They Wearing exhibit. And it started in I think in Arkansas. I think it's moved around a little bit. But this is articles of clothing of sexual abuse and rape victims. Because I think we love to have this kind of stigmatized version of what a rape victim is, right? This songstress with this little small black dress on, this cocktail dress on, who's drunk, who's flirty, who's kissing and touching. That she says no at the last minute, and that man, he can't control himself, and he must rape. He must rape because rape. What can he do? And then right, Brock Turner. But this what were they wearing museum has articles of clothing of these sexual assault victims. And let me tell you, folks, it's not a bunch of cocktail dresses. In fact, it's stuff like a nun uniform, a military uniform, a police uniform, and they even put in there who had a gun. It's an oversized hoodie, baggy jeans, construction suit, uniform with the orange placards. It's a onesie. A onesie. Are we being serious or are we not being serious? This is why this country cannot even process the Epstein files. We've allowed this country to be an Epstein file, an Epstein Island, since it was created. What do you think Christian conversion schools were for the natives? Where they trafficked children and raped them and forced them to assimilate? What do you think concentration camps were for chattel slaves? Like, what do you think happened here? Were white men of power and influence of the 1%. These were not the ones who were stringing people up, but these were the ones that were stringing the families along, taking these children, trafficking. Oh, you can rent that child like it's a backhoe, like it's some sort of gardening tool. And they were raping these children. The concept of a motherfucker, where they had these children, boys, because boys have sperm at pretty much all ages, and they would have sex with their mothers out of either laughter, comedy, or to breed more people who become more property. That's where we get the word motherfucker. So there is this very raw history that I don't think that we're really ready to dive into. And some folks say, well, it's not that long. That was a long time ago, blah, 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 blah. There were people still enslaved by the actual definition of chattel slavery until the 1970s in America. Didn't find out that they were still working on a plantation for free. What do you think was happening there? What level of autonomy did that person have? The what were they wearing museum? What could that baby have done? Because rape and sexual assault in the patriarchal system is not about attraction. It's not about, oh, I think she's sexy. I think that's where a lot of, I hate to say, the average man who does not commit rape, but still has the potential to. I still have the potential to rape. I still have the potential to commit sexual assault. These things actively get swept under the rug because that's what all men do. But I do believe even those men still stigmatize it as, well, they must be attracted to her. It's about domination. It's about power. So this conversation then, now we get into the OGs that were Clifton Powell, who's a 69-year-old man. He goes off with they have a back and forth with the LGBTQ brother, the queer brother. And it goes like this.
I'm from a whole nother era than any of you Negroes is talking about. And I'm not saying I'm right, but most of this was laid on our parents' parents.
Yeah.
My father was born in 1915. His grandparents were slaves. So it's not your mother's fault. It's not your father's fault. It's not your fault. We were born into 450 years of post-slavery PTSD. I am 69, be 70 in March. I've just learned how to love. Our parents didn't know how to love. Their parents didn't know how to love. And if I could say anybody maybe had an edge, it was the women. That's why I celebrate Black women. I live with a psychiatrist, forensics detective, gangster, loving, who's just been patient with me to teach me how to love. I called my buddy, man. I said, I'm fucking up, bro, really bad. So I never been monogamous. So I don't fucking know
What age did you become monogamous?
Today. We don't talk about dopamine being in a pleasant center of the brain. Oxytocin is called the cuddle hormone. So a lot of times we're just talking in generalities. A counselor is gonna get inside of this from a real scientific perspective. So when I hurt my girl, which I've done over and over, and I commend her for even being with me, I called one of my partners who was brilliant. He said, when you hurt somebody, where you leave them is where they stay. So I think our parents, our grandparents, our uncles, our people that raised us, it all comes from out of all of that.
One thing that I just want to talk about, accountability, like, yes, we can talk about what our families did to us, but eventually comes a point where you have to decide, how do I want to live my life? I haven't talked to my daddy in 6 years. I don't give a fuck about what my family has gone through. I know where I will go. So it's like, you know, you can only say that for so long. Black women are tired. Everybody in here, several people have talked about going to counseling. Have that upon yourself. Stop waiting for a woman to tell you what you need to do. Take that upon yourself.
Let me address that real quickly. For me, I didn't know fucking how to
Can
love.
I say one more thing? No, I have to say this, because another thing that happens is, too, you live your life for so long, and I'm not meaning no disrespect by
It's
this.
all right, just say it, bro.
But when you hit your 60s and your 70s, I want to be right.
Okay, but let me.
I want to live my life right. I want someone to take care of me and protect me, and that's what a lot of women have issues with.
I'm living it right the fuck now.
As I said,
listen to
I said 60s and 70s.
Let me say this.
Don't overtalk me.
I'm gonna fucking overtalk you
I'm
because
good,
you're talking out of
but you're not gonna disrespect
me. You don't know what the fuck you talking about.
I am.
I just learned how to love at 60,
I do.
bro. You don't know what the fuck you talking about.
Oh, I do.
You can't
I do.
shit.
I
You don't
do.
know it, nigga.
I do. I'm good.
You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Fuck out of here. You can't tell me what the fuck I'm living, nigga. You cannot fix no shit that you don't even know is happening. Let's get to the truth of this shit. You can't fix no shit unless you meet somebody on another level to help you elevate to understand. I'm not indicting anybody. I'm telling you what the shit is. You can't fix some shit that you don't know about, bro. And then you get there at 69 or 70 and say, I thought I was being loving all this time.
That's a very common conversation. Now, it doesn't go to that extent. There's rarely a brother like, I do forget the young brother's name. There's rarely a brother like that on the other side of that. It's usually a bunch of, a bunch of permission structure responses. Yeah, you know, shit. You know, that's what we do. Yeah, you know, we men out here. And Bell Hooks talks about this, where in society, white men get to control the public square and they control the home. Black men do not get to control the public square. So what do? They want to control the home. So there's this idea that it isn't necessarily black men are more violent or more less trustworthy, because white men cheat actually at higher rates. But it's the concept that I just want to be able to control my life in some small way, even if that means stepping out. Now, I personally don't believe that monogamy is the way to go for our society. I think that's something beaten to us through colonialism. But if you're going to engage in that, I think there's a level of like having an honest conversation with your partner. Like, hey, can we open this thing up? If I bring some folks in, are you cool with that? And if you bring some folks in, I have to be cool with that. And I think that's a healthier way of doing it, versus then what happens is a man will then go to the club or out with his boys and he meets, you know, a woman and he's like, yeah, I'm actually single. I'm single. No ring. I'm single. What's good? What's good, ma? Yeah. Yeah, you know what it is, girl. You know what it is, girl. And that's how that happens. And then they say, well, I thought we were evolved. You know, we're not even supposed to be monogamous when they get caught. Which is true, yeah. Like but it's also irrelevant. It's irrelevant to how in this social contract, you know, whether it be we're boyfriend and girlfriend or we're husband and wife, we said we weren't going to do that. and now you're doing that. So you are out of pocket based on this, right? Like, I don't think that we should be using money, but if you agreed to pay me X, Y, and Z, and then you stop paying me, yeah, well, we don't need to live in this capitalistic system. Money's all made up. I mean, sure, agree, but you agreed to give me that though, right? So it's that you're in breach of contract, and it's your relational contract. But older brothers have this idea that just because I've been living longer, my opinion is more valid, which it is not. Because as I've been telling folks, since I've been on my journey, it's time for a lot of us to unlearn some of the stuff our elders have taught us. Because my grandfather had a 6th grade education. His grandfather had even less than that, and his grandfather was enslaved. So maybe the stuff that we're learning from our elders, yes, they persevered. Yes, they had dedication. Yes, they were able to overcome some obstacles that we do not have to go through. But that does not mean that they were fully sound of mind or of body. And we should not want to replicate that. And I think the young brother did a good job pushing back on him. Did a really good job pushing back on him. Keep moving here. Dulce Sloan, who was on The Daily Show back when Trevor Noah was the host, to go into all this conversation about violence against women committed by men, we need to identify that. It's not just violence against women, because who's committing the violence? It's gender-based violence, male-based violence against women. That's what the whole point of this conversation about patriarchy and our unwillingness to look that systemic problem in the face. But Dulce Sloan here is talking to Trevor Noah, and I thought she made a fantastic point.
Women are told to take self-defense classes.
Yes.
Don't dress provocatively.
Yes.
Don't be a whore.
Okay.
Carry a knife, carry pepper spray, carry all of these things. So you're telling me to do all of these things to make sure that I'm not assaulted or attacked.
Right.
But then if I get assaulted or attacked, you don't believe me. But you told me to do all of these things. And so if I'm being attacked, somebody's doing it. But we're never talking about we're not telling the attackers not to attack. We're telling the victim don't get attacked. So every man that heard that was just like, well, I would never. But every woman has either been sexually harassed or sexually assaulted. So we're not doing it to each other. So how is it that no man has done it, but it has happened to every woman?
Bars, 47 seconds of straight heat. She put it well. She put it well that, that there's nothing. We're never talking to men. We're never talking to our young boys. And it starts when I get in that conversation about periods. If you start to humanize women, that this is what they go through, there's a less chance. Doesn't mean it will never happen. You lessen the chance that when he grows older, even to a teenager, that he won't want to dominate another woman because he feels physically dominated or inferior as a young boy or a man. So many men, our fucking country and our fucking society, our global society writ large, is ran by the weakest fucking men. The weakest fucking men. We still. I just saw a video of The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. He was on the red carpet. They're asking him about how he opens up and how he expresses his strength. And he said that I think it's good for men to be able to articulate how they feel, how to unpack all this processed stuff that's unprocessed. And he's talking about in this group chat that he has that, like, some people may call that weak, but like, it's not weak to say that I'm getting beat down. I'm being exploited by this fucking system. Goddamn boss on my fucking neck. He lives in a gated community in this super, super nice neighborhood. I gotta come home. I can barely, make ends meet. The wife on my back. And that bothers me. But no, we call strength holding all of that in for years, making it more dense. And then what happens? And then we say, well, he was strong. He was a good father. He was a good husband. Lorena, before I die, I want to meet a good man. One good man in person. Exactly right. Exactly right. There are no good men. And this is not me saying this to pander to women. What I'm saying is good is an action. Good is an action. It's not a state of being. Right? Same way I say there are no such thing as good white people. A good white person is willing to challenge and push back against the ideology of whiteness. A good man will do the same thing against patriarchy, misogyny, and the things that prop up male-dominated, male-centered societies. They'll be willing to forego any of that power and control to hand it to those who it deserves, who's the most qualified, who are the most dedicated, who are the most deserving of power. And I use the example here of here in Monroe, North Carolina, where the city is on a rail, is on a knife's edge, but because the voters will vote for the most mediocre. Oh, yeah, so
Women are told to take self-defense classes.
Yes.
Sorry, it said it happened last time too. It said that lost the connection, but they will vote for the most mediocre white man instead of someone who's more qualified, who actually cares about them. Men will side with a patriarch because it reminds them of their daddy, who they never got that love from, who they never got that respect from. They're still trying to, prove themselves to them. There's that phrase, and they said, "You ever see they're to call women gold diggers. Have you ever seen a man around another rich man? Oh my God, wipe the cum off his mouth. I mean, they're slurping and slopping like they know tomorrow. Have you ever seen? I mean, to me, it's embarrassing. Like, get your knee pads on. Being here in Charlotte, or close to Charlotte, I was in Charlotte for years. Going out, the weekends back when I was going out, you run to somebody got a Lamborghini. Oh, I see you, player. Oh man, what you do, man? Let me get. I'm like, get off his dick. Y'all care about them PPs a little too much, a little too much, a little PP envy. But that is exactly what this unprocessed stuff is, because I didn't live up to that expectation. While I'm 30-something years old, why don't I have a Ferrari like this? I am in my mid-20s. Why am I not the executive director yet? Why don't I got a bad bitch like that? Why is my wife only this? Why are my kids not in this grade level yet? Or why aren't they excelling like this? It's all these unrealistic perspectives and structures that we do not have to adhere to. So then we take it out on women. We take it out on our mothers, our sisters, our girlfriends, and our wives, and our daughters. And then we say, well, of course that makes sense because it's rough for daddy. And as Clifton Powell said there, the older gentleman, that women have to help, fix him and shit. That's bullshit argument. Women have, it's funny how men never have to have the tools, right? We're supposed to be dominant on the planet. We never have the tools to fix ourselves, but women are supposed to come fully equipped, knowing how to fix us, and no one's supposed to help fix them. Help make sure they're okay. Check in on them. Care about them. Listen to them. Uplift them. Focus on them. Make sure they have orgasms. Make sure that they experience joy. Make sure that their needs are taken care of. These things are all intertwined. So then you can get to a society where, I'll talk about tomorrow, you get to the SAVE Act, where they want to erase the ability to vote for 69 million women because they chose to do what you told them they had to do, was marry somebody and change their last name, because men are so insecure. They cannot take, these white men specifically, double privilege, are so insecure they can't take their fucking wrong. So now what they're going to do is they're going to try to make sure no one else can vote except for them. So they'll say, well, look, we won. We won the counting of the votes because only we voted. If truth can destroy it, then it deserves to be destroyed by the truth. But two more clips, if y'all stick with me. But I don't know if y'all heard this story of Michael Jordan's in the news as we talk about weak men. I'll just play it just for time's sake.
Tyler Reddick, the NASCAR driver, who we now know is the father of the little boy in the viral Michael Jordan video, has come out.
Oh, crap. Okay, well, I'll just explain to you real quick. So there was a NASCAR win, a guy named Tyler Reddick or some shit. He won, and he's the father of this little boy who's by standing behind him as he's holding the trophy. And Michael Jordan fame, Air Jordan, was sitting there during this win, and he's grabbing this little boy's butt. Grabbing his butt, like consistently grabbing his butt. And I know in sports there's times where like, good game, even from a coach to a player, which I thought that was fucking weird. But in this society, that's like the furthest I think we've been. All right, I guess that's kind of makes sense. But this kid was like 5 or 6 years old. And Michael Jordan is what, 70? I don't know how fucking old his old ass is. Too old to be touching a little boy's butt consistently, nonstop. And you see the boy kind of shoot his hips forward to make sure that his butt cannot be grabbed. It became a viral moment. And the father who's going to be on that clip, who's going to say, well, I didn't look at it like that. I think Michael is just a guy that, he's our sponsor for our team. And, I'm just happy that, we want to think we're just in the moment. And when I say earlier, I said a few minutes ago that our whole society is ran by these supine, servile, prostrated men laying on their yellow bellies, whether it be for Michael Jordan, because he's our sponsor. And I just want to be close to Michael Jordan. And that's my guy. And yeah, I know I got his phone. I will beat your motherfucking ass in here. Don't you ever touch my son's butt. I don't give a fuck who you are. Or dare it be, Marco Rubio, sitting here laying down for Donald Trump, or Pete Hegseth, and my brother, or that father who shot his own daughter over Donald Trump. Or whether it be, honestly, your husband taking the shit from his fucking boss because I got to. If not, I can't get the promotion. You're not getting the promotion. Have y'all not looked around to what the fuck is going on in this country? They're scaling everything back. Oh, I love Elon Musk. Elon Musk is so funny. Doge, Grok. You will never be Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a weak ass man. Jeffrey, I cannot wait. Can you tell me when you're gonna have one of your wild parties? Can I be invited? He is a weak bitch to someone else. People have no conviction for justice and have integrity anymore. But we look at these men, because they have large muscles. Because they make money. In fact, those that make money are some of the most servile motherfuckers out there. Look at LeBron James' statement on Israel. He's a billionaire. You should have fuck you money, where you're like, no, yeah, I stand, with the oppressed people of Palestine, just like my forefathers, Malcolm X, which y'all caught me reading his book, or James Baldwin, or Angela Davis, or whoever, or Miss Rachel. Miss Rachel had got more balls than LeBron James. But all of the heroes are monsters. George Washington couldn't lie. You had to tell these lies because if you found out that he didn't have to work because he was the richest person in the United States, before there was the United States of America, but he was the richest person in America when he became the president. He didn't work hard. When he was 10 years old, he was gifted 11 human beings. Let me give you 11 people to do your fucking daily job, whatever it is, whether it be going to work, whether it be doing your errands, whether it be rearing your children, whether it be doing your daily labors. 11 people. That's starting off. By the time he died, he was in the hundreds. This is ridiculous. We are ran by the most weak men, and we keep being told strong men are the ones that are cruel. But as the Greek philosopher Seneca said, all cruelty springs out of fear. They're afraid. These are the weakest men. And I used to be a weak man. And I'm not saying I still don't have my weaknesses. I do. Absolutely. But I want to confront those weaknesses. I want to pull and push with people that I know care about themselves and myself, and our mutual gains. That's what the world needs. Not people who are sure of themselves with doing none of the work. Haven't read, haven't sat with someone, haven't self-reflected, there's no introspection. Just, I'm right because I got a dick and balls. I'm right because I got white skin. I'm even super right because I'm white with a dick and balls. We have to unlearn all this. Gotta unlearn all this. Now, there is this online dating coach I've been following. Her name is Chantal. I think her name is the Canadian dating coach. Love her, by the way. But she teaches women how to deal with fucking assholes. She teaches women, and she teaches men too, how to not, she teaches, or she's teach men. She puts men in their place who love to have this conversation. She'll talk about these different topics like, why body count doesn't matter. And you'll always get some chud who again is sure of himself because I have a dick and balls. And he'll be like, actually, it does matter because what do you call a key that can unlock every lock? You call that a master key. But what about a lock that opens to any key? That's a broken lock. And she's like, why the fuck am I an object? Just cuts through the bullshit. But I love this clip here. This is her with a woman called Guided Inspiration. She is a speech language pathologist, and she kind of does like, I guess like body reading. I'm not right, but I love both their pages, and they started to sync up now, kind of like, the Avengers. But I love them. But check this out.
But you're not controlling them. You just want them a certain way.
Just walk away.
A few moments later.
Is this a fork?
Okay, let me see a fact.
Is that a fork? Is it a fork?
It's a fork.
Yes, a fact is outside of you. A fact is outside of you. It's not in your head, Haman. Go away. Go away. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying?
1 second.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Go away, Haman. See, this is why we have to block you, because you stay and you stay. You stay. You don't remove yourself. I keep telling women we have to block you ourselves because you don't go away. We have to remove you. We have to do the work. We have to block you. You're emotional and logical. I don't care. Goodbye.
You need to learn her tone and her method. Her tone is intentionally repellent. It pierces through space in order to push him away, and yet he persists. His need to argue overrides her dismissal. The most amazing thing about Chantal Hyde's work is that her art proves her method. These indoctrinated misogynist males show up and offer you rules for your existence, but when they are dismissed based on your rules for existence, they will not leave. It's not just about finding the power within your go away, but matching that power with action to remove yourself and them. If you still don't know how to identify the actions, the words, and the behaviors of an abuser, I suggest that you get on her train.
Love Chantal Hyde. Yeah, so again, I just wanted to kind of take it off of the beaten path of like straight up politics. We'll get back at that tomorrow, but we'll probably leave into that with the SAVE Act. I'll get in that tomorrow. But I just felt it was important to just get on my soul and having conversations with folks about it. And kind of, it's been on my mind. I've been talking about it a lot. I think, it's important for us to know that, just because we're on a journey doesn't mean that we're better than anybody else, that we have a lot of work we still need to do, that we all need to go through, some ego death. We all need to go through some, reputation destruction, right? We have to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, like, you know what? I'm not where I want to be in here. It's easy to have this stuff out there. Like, look, I remind you, Elon Musk is the richest person on the planet and needs to take copious amounts of drugs just to be happy. So if he has to do that, you might need to sit with yourself for a little bit. You might need to talk to somebody that's different. You might need to apologize to some people. You might need to cry. I cry at least 2-3 times a week. Like, no bullshit. And I love it every time. The emotions come rushing out. Face gets hot. Cheeks are warm. Tears are streaming. And it's a freeing thing. My kids have seen me cry. And they understand it now. I think if I was a little boy, but why is my dad crying, right? He's supposed to be this tough man, right? Hold it in. But he's strong by showing me that he can have all the emotions. Was it Bill Burr that said men can only have 2 emotions, okay and fine? We can be more than that. We can be more than that. We should be more than that. Lorena, I see you in here, sis. Sorry, I was on a bit of a tangent. You're hitting it right. You're hitting it right, sis. Boom. Yeah. This is funny. Yeah, they're so right. They even put their dick and balls on the trucks. Exactly. They dress the trucks up in drag, right? They hate drag queens, but they raise it up on, they put it on lifts, and they put nuts on it, and the gender, and watch out for the sexualization. We can't have a book about queer people, but your kid can see your dad's truck with balls swinging all. You know they got little peepees. They got little peepees. I think a show on current stereotypes and their origins would be good for discussion. Agreed. Agreed. And I mean, maybe I like this, the kind of non-political stuff, but just, cultural stuff. I like talking about this stuff because I think it bleeds into the politics. I think it bleeds into those who create laws, who uphold these ideologies, right? As we get into the Dobbs decision, they're all killing babies versus I don't want you to ever have autonomy. Because you know who never had autonomy? My ancestors, male or female. So that's what I'm thinking. I like that idea, Arena. What else we got here before we go? Lily with a bunch of eyes. Facts on facts on facts. I forget what that was about. Pinky came out. Yeah. Pinky Nyaga from next Friday. Feeling that's Clifton Powell. Yeah, that old brother, unfortunately, that's a common occurrence, man. It's a common occurrence of how our older generation is, and they rely on that, like, she got to fix me. But like you said, you just got monogamous today at this round, and I get it was a joke, but what you're saying is like, I ain't never gonna do right by women. My father was the same way. Oh yes, we did. We're supposed to do the book club, but Tuesday, the folks that were talking about it weren't even in the chat, so I don't know if y'all serious or not. Don't know if y'all serious. But Lorena did put a book in here. Let's see. Where do we find it? Book Rape and Society. Good one. Is the book called Book? What's the name of the book? Is it called Book, Rape and Society? Is that the subtitle, Rape and Society? Is the title Book and then the subtitle Rape and Society? If you're still on. All right. If not, all good. All good. If you're not still on, because we're at hour 12. My final funny clip is about women and brothers and men. What we can do. Oh, yeah, she says, Invisible Man, Ralph Ellison, actually fantastic book, filled with stereotypes. Yes, that could be another good one, but we're supposed to vote on it as a team. Everybody wasn't around. We want a book club. Me too. Yeah, I want a book club. All right. So this is a clip from a brother. I do not know his name actually, but how we can be, more understanding and accessible to our women. Before we go, folks, make sure you like, share. Okay, she says it's called Rape and Society. Rape and Society. Oh, Suzanne's on. And she said she has, let me put this up here. The book is called Rape and Society that Lorena was talking about. And this here, Suzanne says, we have an anti-fascist book club on Facebook. Selecting a new book now. Y'all can join us. We just finished Separation of Church and State. Oh, I heard that was good. Yeah, Bajan Fusalang. I remember when he was on his book tour. I wanted to read that. Actually, I just got, oh, man. It's in my other room. But Jesus and John Wayne. Jesus and John Wayne. So that's going to be probably my next book after I finish what I'm currently reading. But please, folks, make sure you like, share. Oh, what's this book? Woman Who Runs with Wolves. That sounds interesting. Just by the title. I can be very intrigued by a title. Don't think, like, Perry, you don't even know anything about the book. I can be intrigued. I can be intrigued. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. We're pushing your payroll. Whatever. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the Radical Cruise podcast. It has been another fantastic episode. I really enjoyed this one. Again, not as much headlines, but just excavating out all the shit, and we'll still be talking about patriarchy because patriarchy is everywhere. We are drowning in patriarchy, and we need more men to snap each other out of it. That's what we need. And another role I played in that first half of this conversation today about the story from Saturday, I was playing my role against men, and not in against like in an adversarial way, like a hate man, because I love who I am, but we got to be better. We got to be better. So please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our Cruise podcast. This is how we stay growing. We've been growing every single episode. We've always getting some new folks on. There's a couple new folks in the chat today from Twitch. So it's fantastic to see folks on different platforms as well, not just YouTube and Facebook. So please, if you have any ideas on topics or ideas, maybe our Thursday episode could be something really non-political. We could just discuss something. We could discuss another societal ill. What do y'all think? Again, this show is still growing, and the dedicated folks in the chat keep me coming here. I love y'all so much. Y'all are so dope. You make this worth it every single time. Even today, I was like, I'm kind of tired. We're having some car troubles today. I had to get run around this morning, but I'm like, no, I might just cancel today. But then I was like, no, it was on my heart to talk about patriarchy, to talk about just how we as men got to do better, and the systems that plague women that we created as men. Not me as Payron, but how I benefit from not being oppressed by that specific outcome, and how that allows me through my fear to allow that, because that ain't me. So please, if you guys could share the show, tell a friend about it. I would really appreciate it. I know Ron would appreciate it. We're actually not doing we're not doing our after our evening show tonight. Ron has an event tonight. I couldn't get a backup guest enough time, but again, I know this is kind of a separate thing. Like, it's a different group of people that show up here, and it's really dope. So I love y'all for that. And if you guys could, and of course, as always, gotta do my capitalist thing. I hate it. If you guys could donate a couple bucks to the roots, to the Radical Roots right here, we'd really appreciate it. Every dollar goes a very long way. It is how we stay independent. It is how we maintain this really cool platform, and it is how we just keep doing the damn thing. So if y'all could throw a couple bucks, hey, appreciate it. So if y'all could, we really appreciate it. But again, I will see y'all tomorrow. We will be going back to politics. And again, patriarchy is a part of politics. I think Lorena said patriarchy is water, raw fish swimming in it. Correct. And then I want to use my power, my privilege, I want to take my privilege to destroy that privilege. That's the same thing I ask of anybody else. The same thing I ask of white folks. Take your privilege to destroy that privilege. That's it. That's all we can do. And I'm going to do that every single day with y'all. So I appreciate y'all. But here's a clip from a brother saying how us as men can, take it easier on our women and our female compatriots out here, even if they're not your actual girlfriend or your wife, but just we can take it easy. But folks, it's been fantastic today. Thank y'all so much. Hopefully y'all come back tomorrow for our Friday episode on the Roots Rundown. And if not, I will see you on the next time. Peace.
You start realizing that your girl is never at 100% good health. And I'm not saying that to be funny. It just be something. Like, if it's not a head hurt and it's a stomach, if it's not a stomach, it's a period. If it's not a period, she got cramps. And if she don't got that, it's something else. Back be hurting, tired, dizzy, moody. Every day something wrong, baby. And as a guy, you be sitting there like, damn. But when you really think about it, it must be real exhausting all the damn time to deal with something. Imagine your body never being calm, always adjusting, always uncomfortable, always having to push through something. And on top of that, her iron be so damn low, the gnats be taking her before she could take them. She'll be like, oh, I'm about to go lay down. 5 minutes go by and boom, she's in a deep ass sleep. She's gone. No heads up, no nothing, no awareness, because her body really be working overtime. And we joke about it, but it's low-key serious sometimes. And you got to give her grace, all right? The hormones be shifting, the stress, the work, the life, the pain. Everything just be on 1,000, and she still be showing up, still loving, still handling responsibilities. Get that girl some grace, all right? Every day is an adventure with her ass, but give her some grace.